Hey everybody, I'm Judy Saul, and today I'm going to show you my favorite way of dyeing a silk scarf, which I have right here. And what you're going to need is a good project board. This one has a plastic coating. It's stained, but it's clean. I have Procyon MX dyes in 4 colors here that I've poured into small plastic containers, and a container of water, because what I'm going to be doing once I get my scarf laid out the way I want it is I will be drizzling the dyes using an eyedropper, which makes really incredibly fun patterns on the scarf and helps to blend the colors well. So first thing I have, this scarf is silk. It's been soaked in a soda ash solution, which all dyes, all garments that you use Procyon MX dyes on will need some kind of a mordant to help the dye to bond with the fiber, and soda ash is what I prefer to use. So I'm going to partially lay out my scarf on the project board, and then I'm going to kind of get it loosened up here, because what I like to do is scrunch it together. And it's a little bit challenging to keep the scarf from sticking to the project board, but you just kind of work with it and very loosely first, starting to gather it. I hope you can see this against the white background. It will show as I start to apply the dyes, just in case, but this is a process I like to use. I prefer organic patterns to the more structured patterns that a lot of people like with the tie-dye. This has become something that I appreciate, because the dyes determine where they're going to go, and the little peaks and valleys I'm creating will cause the resistance that allows for the dyes to go some places and not others necessarily. So now I've got that pretty well scrunched up, and I'm just going to start. I've got hot pink, soft orange, fuchsia, and scarlet. So here's the hot pink we're going to start with. And all I'm doing, this is just a regular eyedropper, and I go into the dyes and I gather up some, and I start just very lightly drizzling the dyes. And I'll go over the whole thing with this color. And I'm not trying to completely saturate and cover every molecule of the scarf, because I like a blend of colors and I like some contrast with the white. And the designs are being formed as the dye just slowly migrates across the fabric and goes in little peaks and valleys. And okay, I think that's enough for the hot pink. So then I'm just going to squirt out the rest and rinse out my eyedropper with the clear water. And now I'll go on to the next color, which is the soft orange. Okay, very simple process, not rocket science. This is something I learned several years ago, and I continue to love how they come out. And it goes very well with, even if people aren't that thrilled with tie-dye as an art form, they can appreciate the colors and the organic patterns that are created by this process. Now, orange is a pretty strong color, so I'm going to stop with that and go on to the fuchsia now, which is a little more intense than the hot pink, but they blend very well together. This is a nice, bright, springy color that I think will do well as we move out of the colder weather into the warm. And they go with almost every outfit. You can find ways to use this. I've had people ask, well, can I use it as a tie? Sure, why not? This is a 14 by 70 inch scarf. So there's lots of ways to be able to use it as an accessory for an outfit or hair accessory. Now this is the scarlet. I'm just going to put a little of this in just because it's a little more, it's a darker color, but it adds to the blending of colors. And you can see how this is starting to shape up. This is going to sit and batch for at least a couple of hours before I rinse it, and I use a textile detergent called Synthropol, and I'm going to have a materials list attached to this when I get done so that you'll be able to find what you need if you want to give this a try. And I do recommend it especially if you're not real accomplished as a dyer and just want to start dabbling with dyes. Oops, I see one corner. I want to get a little more color in here. This is a fun way to break the block from, you know how it is when you try something new for the first time, it's like, what if I ruin it? This is going to be a fun thing for you to try. So we'll let that batch for a couple hours, and then we'll come back and I'll get it rinsed and dry it off and let you see the final results. Stay tuned. Here's a little closer view of the scarf as it's batching. As you can see, I've got a lot of different colors in there. Probably a little difficult to see with the light, but they're all blending together, and while they don't look like a whole lot right now, you wait and see when it is completed and we have it all pressed, and I'll give you a little bit of ideas about how it can be used. Okay, we're back. This is the scarf that I dyed and left to batch for a couple of hours, which basically means I just left it exactly as I had it for the first segment and allowed the dyes to migrate and bond with the silk fiber. And then I rinsed the scarf, washed it with some textile detergent, rinsed again, and just let it hang dry. So I want to bring this in a little closer so you can see some of the patterns that are formed. It's really fascinating to see how the dye migrates. And in some places it bundles together. In others you get this really interesting lacy pattern. That's what I'm actually working towards when I do the drizzle. If you just pour dyes over, you're going to get a much more solid look to it. But this just comes out very interesting when you use the eyedropper and just gradually drizzle the dyes together.